In this video, I'm going to help you excel your spiritual awakening and your consciousness by talking about spiritual bypassing. And don't forget to watch to the end of this video when I give you some really important exercises which will help you expand your consciousness and get real about spiritual bypassing. Hi, I'm Melissa Feick, founder of the Spiritual Expansion Academy. I'm an ascension teacher, and I really believe that we are here to expand our awareness and open up to the power of joy. So in your spiritual awakening, I bet you think that using like positive words and manifesting happy thoughts and being really positive is what you should be doing. And that's the energy that you should be creating. But underneath it all, you're angry or sad or have other lower feelings. You know, so many people pretend to be happy, but they're really a hot mess inside. So this is spiritual bypassing, and I see this all the time in spiritual people who think that they have to be something in order to be spiritual, and they have to not be human anymore. And it's really important to understand that you are human, and it's good for you to be human. And that is the reason you are here. You're here to experience what it means to be a human. We're also here to master the lower vibrational planes and lower our lower ego self. So we're here to master those two things. It's a little bit more expanded than that, but that gives you the understanding of it. So when you are spiritual bypassing, you're denying your feelings. You are moving around that anger at your mom or dad, and you are saying, oh, I forgive them. And that's great. I mean, I think that you should talk the talk. But inside, are you talking the talk? Inside, are you walking the walk? There's a difference, because it doesn't matter what the thoughts are if there is an incongruent feeling connected to it. So if you are thinking good thoughts, I'm thinking good thoughts about these things, but inside the feelings are lower vibration of anger or hate, then they miss the mark. And it's a pretending. It's not real. So you have to get real with yourself. You have to tell yourself the truth, because it's so easy for us to deceive ourselves. And how do we deceive ourselves? We deceive ourselves by pretending that everything's okay, when really inside we're a hot mess. But we want to fit in. We want to fit in with other spiritual people. So we will act like everything is great. I have actually a video on how deception and ascension works, so I'll put that link below. That might help you a little bit about deception in your ascension process. When people are a hot mess inside, but they are projecting this other facade outward, they are actually doing more harm to their spiritual awakening. They're actually going backward. So there are so many different types of spiritual bypassing. Let me tell you another one. Another type of spiritual bypassing is when people think they're above others. I see this a lot because the ego comes in and they think, okay, I have done these healing modalities. I'm a yoga teacher. I meditate all the time. So here I am. I'm this grand spiritual person, and I speak in a certain way because I want people to see me as spiritual. Yeah, I know it might sound like I'm judging them, but you have to notice that in yourself. Because if you are bypassing past your issues, you are not on your spiritual path. You are on the path of the ego. The path of the ego wants you to either be above people or below people. They want to, the ego, the they ego, wants you to feel separate than everything else in your world. So if you're above people, then you're separate. You're more important. So all of these types of spiritual bypassing is connected to the spiritual ego. And the spiritual ego is this part of ourselves that pretends to be spiritual or wants to be so spiritual that it's like, yeah, I'm spiritual and these other minions are not. Or I'm so spiritual because I want to fit in, so I'm going to pretend that I'm like this spiritual person. It's all spiritual ego. And I love to explain this to people because once they get it, so much happens for them. Their world expands and they're not afraid to deal with their energies, feelings, emotions, or manifestations that come up that aren't what they desire, because they're like, okay, that didn't work out. What within myself is incongruent with what I desire? Because you can't have an energy system of positivity and a feeling center of, wonky feelings, old issues with mom or dad, or old boyfriends that still haunt you. That energy is they're going to miss each other. So guess where what happens to your manifestations? They fart out because they can't drive the energy forward. Same with your higher consciousness. You're here to expand your consciousness, right? To be in those higher states of consciousness. But if you are bypassing around your feelings, pretending that everything's okay, all is good, nothing is wrong with you, you're at a heightened state and everybody else is not, then you are missing the mark. You're actually missing the reason you incarnated here, because you came here to master the lower vibrational planes and bodies. And to bypass is an illusion, because those feelings and energies are going to come up for you. So one of the ways that you can do this to help you understand your spiritual bypassing is through working with your shadow self. So your shadow self, let's just be clear, is also part of what the ego doesn't want us to know about. Our shadow self hides away. And you know it's your shadow when you resist it. So once I was teaching an intuitive development class, and one of my students, we were working on shadow. And one of my students freaked out when we started to talk about what her shadow was. It was a specific thing. She lost it. She went off on a tangent. She was so fearful to deal with it. She denied it up and down and in and out. And what became obvious to myself and the rest of the class was that that is exactly what she should be working on. Because if you are resisting it and denying it and fearful of it and pushing against it, then most likely it's your stuff, because your ego is resisting. Look, the soul, your soul self or your higher consciousness loves to flow through life. It's not resistant. So when you're resisting something, it's your ego. If you're flowing and things are moving in a beautiful dance, you are in alignment with your higher consciousness. So what happened with this girl in class was that her shadow self was trying to pull forward, but she was too afraid and denying her inner shadow or her inner work and trying to move around it. And I'll be honest with you, she was a great person, but her spiritual ego was pretty large. And it was large because she believed that she was on a higher path than everyone else. So she had to deny any shadow. She had to resist it. So your spiritual process isn't really about learning the law of attraction and understanding vibration and trying to pull in higher vibrational energies. It is about transcending lower vibration, transcending the human ego, and transcending the parts of us that are damaged. Look, we're all damaged. If you haven't dealt with your victim energy, or with your anger or betrayal or whatever at your parents, then you have not transcended the lower vibrations. You can pretend all you want, and it's okay, right? So there's no right or wrong. I believe that everything is perfect and everything is exactly as it should be. And maybe you're watching to this point in the video because you're ready. You're ready to move past these lower vibrations and take charge of your life and take charge of your spiritual awakening and excel forward. So what you have to do is actually dig deep into those feelings and into those thoughts that are blocking you from your ascension, that are pulling you backward. So I see it like this energetically. When somebody's resisting something, they have this beautiful possibility here. It could be a manifestation or a higher consciousness creation. But what happens is they're actually they're being pulled backward from it. And I could see it. It's like this ego is stringing them and pulling them backward. And what they desire is moving further and further away. And they think it's moving further away because something outside of themselves is messing with them. But it's all their ego self that's messing with them. The reason you're not connecting at a different level is because your ego is pulling you backward. So take charge and call that ego out and transcend and move past it. And why is this the ego hold on to these things? Because it's in pain. It's part of your story, and it's part of who you are on this plane. And another thing I see often is when people will spiritually bypass other people's issues. And how they'll do that is, I see this a lot in family units, where in a family, one person will have a feeling or believe something or have a story about something, and everybody else is saying, oh no, that's not right, that's not true, oh, you shouldn't have felt that way, I didn't mean to make you feel that way, so it's okay that you feel that way because I didn't mean to do it. And what they're actually doing is bypassing other people's pain. And that is also part of the spiritual ego. So a different way to handle that maybe is, wow, I acknowledge that really hurt you, and that's the way you perceive this. That just sounded really hard, and I acknowledge that. And what you're doing there is you're being really present and loving with them. And on the backside of that, energetically, you're being present and loving to yourself, to those own parts of you that have not felt heard, have not felt part of something big, haven't felt acknowledged in your life. So if you're triggered by something, it is probably something that you need to look at, and it's okay. It is okay to look. One way that you can help yourself with your spiritual bypassing is the shadow work. And then another part is taking responsibility for everything in your life. Now, this can be a trigger for you, so bear with me. But you know what? Sit and open your heart, because if you are really ready to expand your consciousness and work on yourself, this is a great tool for you. So a lot of times people fear that they're not good enough. They have this underlying fear that they're not enough in some way. They don't feel good enough, they don't feel smart enough, or they feel lacking or less than. And part of that is because of these old energies and old belief systems and old traumas or issues that you've had in your life. And this brings forward the spiritual ego, which holds you back and takes you backward, right? So we talked about that. Fear is the ego's playground. fear is the ego's favorite thing to play with. So when you have fear, you are holding yourself back. When you start taking responsibility for your fear, meaning, okay, I'm having this fear, but is it real? Where does it come from? Where did it start? What did that, I feel abandoned everywhere in my life. Well, yeah, I do, because my dad abandoned me years ago. Not my story, but that's a common story I hear from people. So what does spiritual bypassing have to do with taking responsibility? When you look at your life and you are honest with yourself, you're inquisitive, you're looking for the places, you're looking through your files for all the places that you have and still are holding on to lower vibrations, and you're working to transcend them, you are taking responsibility for your life. When you are taking responsibility for your life, you are the creator of your life. You are expanding who you are. You're not holding yourself in this ball of, they did this to me, so it's their fault that I'm this way. And that is something that we all have to deal with, because most of us have victim energy. When I have worked with clients through the years, almost every single one of them has some sort of victim energy, and they feel like somebody did something wrong to them and that they have to punish or hurt or make sure that this person knows that they did something wrong. So they're looking outside of themselves to transcend their own inner issues or traumas. And what you have to do, that's a bypassing. You're bypassing past your ability to transcend that energy. And that's not an easy one. Victim is the hardest one for almost everybody, because everybody will say to me, not everybody, but so many of my clients will say, I'm not a victim, I'm strong, I've overcome this. And I always say to them, I agree with you, you have come a long way, but these pieces are still triggering you. So do you want to just let them all go so that you can have joy and expansion and manifest things immediately? I would say, yeah, let's do that. I want to be there to help you through that. I'm not calling you a victim or that you are a bad person. I want you to take your power back, because when you believe that you are a victim to someone else's circumstances or situations, you are giving all of your power to them. So let's say you think Joe Schmo did something wrong, and he did something bad to you, and you blame Joe Schmo for all of these other things that have happened in your life. All you're doing is giving all your power to Joe Schmo, saying he is my power source because he is the one who's wrong. But when you believe that you can take your power back, you go, well, I'm responsible for how I reacted to Joe Schmo's situation, this situation with Joe Schmo. I'm responsible for not dealing with that at all and my feelings around it. And I'm responsible, wow, this is a big one. I'm actually responsible for digging this hole into depression. Now, what can I do to transcend this energy? You're the creator of your experience. Take your power back, because if you want to be joyful and happy, you have to take responsibility, because taking responsibility is critical to your happiness. It supports your happiness. It is powerful. And whenever I have people do these exercises with personal responsibility, they are blown away by how much more powerful they feel in their life and how much more on point they feel in their life. So what you want to do is go through your whole life, and you can do it in increments. So 0 to 5, 5 to 10. Those are really important ages. And look at where you didn't take responsibility in your life. Now, one or two people are going to tell me that they had a difficult experience when they were a young child, and how could a child take responsibility for that? And I am going to tell you that I understand more than you know. And what you need to do is ask yourself, where am I giving my power away and not taking responsibility? Because if I believe that I am still that 5-year-old little boy, girl, then I'm giving my power away to whatever happened. I'm responsible for who I am today. And I don't have to give my power away to that situation, that problem, that person. It's hard, but it's worth it. Because then you start looking, where else do I give my power away? Where else do I take responsibility? Where else can I gain my sense of self back? Because you are giving parts of yourself away every time you believe that someone else is responsible for your situation. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was really deep, but I'm ready to help you expand your consciousness. So what I want you to do, once you do some of this work, sit inside and ask yourself, what's the higher state of consciousness? Now that all this stuff is cleared out, who am I? What's my higher state of consciousness, and who do I want to show up as? No longer the victim, so who am I now going to show up as? So if you liked this video, please subscribe below, and I send you so much love and beauty and grace, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Much love.